Put a few women together and they immediately talk about their emotional life. And they know immediately about each other what's going on. Intimate. Put a few men together. Oh, yeah, I mean, the car is really great. My son is not doing so well. My grandmother always said about men, she always said, poverinos, poverinos, those poor guys.
Women typically, even no matter how empowered they are, they still want to be picked. They're not doing the picking. I've had a very rich romantic life myself, and it's always because, like, I'll see the person across the room, and it would never occur to me not to talk to them.
I mean, I just would never try and pick up a man. I just wouldn't do it.
Have you ever thought about doing it?
Absolutely not.
Really? Never once in your whole life?
No. But if I think you're attractive looking, you will never know. Never in life will you know.
I'm the same way.
All of us here are very, like, big personalities, you know, the hair, the clothes, so some men are intimidated by that. But a guy that would come up to me, I feel like he has a certain amount of confidence, so sometimes I would be, like, attracted to that.
But do you think that, like, we're doing ourselves a disservice by limiting our options to just the guys that might have that one element of, like, socialization where they know how to talk to women and that
Yeah, totally.
Like,
But she's not really limiting her options if she wants her only options to be a guy who would have that assertiveness. And I think what she's saying about the man's confidence is that it's safe to her. So she wouldn't be limiting her options by only attracting or wanting that kind of man.
We want someone else to come up to us, which is true. I would never go up. I mean, I don't go up to guys, but that's not to say you're protecting yourself at all, because you could be attracting someone who's toxic.
If I'm really drawn to someone, I have no problem making the first move, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going and talking to him. It might mean that I'm looking at him, staring at him from across the room. I'm always afraid that if I am the one to go forth first, will that then mean that from now on I'm the one consistently pursuing this guy?
I'm attracted to the still guy. I think there's enormously potential in somebody who doesn't talk much, who's just looking and observing.
I'm married for 5 years, 2 kids, and I'm out of that scene now for quite some time. And even actually before I got married, I wasn't really in that scene because I'm an Orthodox Jew. You want to know that it's, I think it was Ruqayyah was saying, the consistency. It's not just that you want to be pursued. You want to know that he's a pursuer by nature. It's not just that in that moment he chose you and you're going to have some fling. You want to know that you are going to pursue me our whole life.
I'm dating a man who's a crier, and it's confusing. So he's like a doctor, and so he wakes up every morning at 5 a.m., right? And he goes in and he does his surgeries. He's like carving like tumors out of people's like skulls and necks and everything. And then he gets off of work and he's cooking. Like, he cooks dinner. Like, I've never ever once successfully cooked dinner. And then I was like, I want you to make the plans too, because it's really hot when a guy makes plans. And then I'm like, wait a second. Like, he gets to have all the positive masculine attributes and all the positive feminine attributes, and I'm not doing anything. I'm so, like, liberated that I'm totally useless and not, like, contributing to this relationship at all.
I mean, now you see all these shared roles, which is also very beautiful. If a man is out of luck and has no job and runs the kids, and you see him out in the playground and he's with his kids, it's wonderful. When I grew up, it was unthinkable. Men would never change a diaper.
In terms of dressing,
How expressive can they go?
Yeah, how
before it's
expressive,
too,
like-
before you might feel it's too feminine.
He can go all out.
Can he wear pink high heels?
He can wear anything he wants. Because for me, my type is like, it's usually internal. They're usually similar inside. If he's wearing heels and he's straight, that's hot.
Really?
Like Prince wore heels, and he's hot.
There's no rational reason why I wouldn't, but that would totally freak me out. Like, I'd be like, absolutely not. Like, because it would just completely take away, like, this veil of masculinity. No, it wouldn't be attractive. Like, there's a masculine look that I'm attracted to, and it's probably constructed.
No vanity, please. I mean, he just looks just what am I wearing today? It's cold outside, that's all. I think that is
But I
very
mean, your
cool.
husband has tons of styles.
Yeah, but it
disheveled.
started over many, many years, and he's completely forgetting it. He doesn't wear it aware.
It would be a turnoff if he was aware.
Yeah, no, then it would be way too much.
For me, like it's appealing when someone owns it, and so it'd be the opposite of not being aware.
I don't think men have had the opportunity to identify with themselves in that way. They have for the most part, have such a small window of clothing that they wear. It was never a priority, or it was never an idea for them to know the difference between 2 white shirts.
My mom, every time I asked her to go somewhere, she'd always say, ask your dad. As I got older, and as he got sick with cancer, then we became closer. I feel like we started to understand each other more. Because me being a musician, my dad was a chemist, he was very strict, academics. There was things I learned about him when he passed, that he wanted to be a musician, that he played the guitar.
But he never revealed any of that.
Never told me at all.
When he became sick and you became close, did he become extremely did you become extremely close?
Just to the point where I told him about the first guy that I was really dating. And I would ask him things like, well, how do you know if someone loves you? And I was seeing someone, so I wanted to know from a male's perspective.
No intimate conversations, really, generally, until then?
No, none.
Did he hug?
No. It was very,
My mom was always very encouraging in my life, artistically, and she was always the fashionable one and encouraged me to dress how I want. And my dad was completely opposite. He's very conservative, and he wasn't really around very much, and my mom always was. So the creative side was allowed to come out. I remember the first time he found my first tattoo, he put a hole through the wall. And the next day I was getting it removed.
You punched a hole through the wall?
Yeah.
Literally?
Literally. We never hug. He
Never
hugged
hug?
me.
How do you say hello?
A kiss on the cheek, like you do an acquaintance. He gave me a hug for the first time a few weeks ago, since I was probably a little kid.
Was it awkward?
Yeah, it was sad.
For him? For both of you?
More for me. I don't think he really understood it.
I respect him. As a man, growing up, he wasn't necessarily the best father. He was always there. My parents were married. He was a bit distant, but I think that's also because his father wasn't really in his life. So I think he was doing the best he could. The interaction isn't where I feel it should be yet. The physical hugging, kissing, not so much. I never really did that. Growing up with my dad, with my mom, yeah. With my dad, no. He's not the affectionate type of guy, period, with any of us. Even with my mom, I think I've seen him hold her hand maybe twice in my life.
I was adopted at a young age by my grandparents, and that was a really surreal experience, but then they died. And, I have a dad, and we're Facebook friends. He'll my statuses on Facebook, and but I don't have a connection to him, I guess. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't know, maybe I should talk about my grandpa, because he's who raised me. But he was a junk man. He had a junkyard. And my grandma was a tightrope walker, so it was very surreal.
That makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes it's the only thing that makes sense, I guess. But was he emotional? No, he was just bizarre.
My father, since as far back as I can remember, read us stories at night, hugged us, sang to us, played with us. He was very helpful. For a large period of growing up, my mother was the breadwinner of the family, and my father was very domestic. I'm talking dinners, laundry, homework. I mean, the full picture. Probably at times I resent it a little bit. Now I see it as like a beautiful thing.
Listening to you, you're all so much younger than I. I come from the 60s. We were the first who liberated themselves. I grew up in the Hitler era, as aftermath of the horrible war. And my father was so against Hitler that he was sent home from the war. The only time I saw him sobbing was when the Americans had already come in and the people from Dachau came through our farm, and my father fed them for weeks, and like about 70 people, and my father was standing there sobbing what has happened, what the war had done to his Germany and what the war had done to these people. Otherwise, he was incredibly stern and very just and just a very righteous man and not affectionate. He was affectionate with his horses, or he was affectionate with, like, patting me on the shoulder. Or he would say, Beatrix, sing a song. And I would sing, and he would think it was the funniest thing. But he wasn't like, there was not this hugging or so. He was just.
Is Ludwig, does he show emotion to you?
My husband? Not really. It's hard for him. To show emotion is very hard for him. I have never seen him cry. Well, I have seen all my sons cry.
I've never seen my husband cry.
And they cry with their
either.
wives. They cry with their, they cry. I like that a lot.
No, the lack of crying, I think you can't really know them.
Yeah, but my father, I saw him cry and sob, also in anger and helplessness, But he had that. I knew he had it. I somehow knew he had it. But with Ludwig, he just doesn't allow it. He does not allow it.
I think of sensitive, I think of like a seismograph, like for earthquakes. And so like, I cry all the time. I'm at the whim of my emotions, but it's just like I'm like this pulsating thing that is just totally open to everything because I'm a sensitive seismograph. And like, that's what you want in a seismograph, right? Like you want it to be finely tuned and it has this positive thing, but guys, they're not taught to think that. They think sensitive, they think it's like an open wound, it's a mess, it's not okay. And so like, I'll call my guy friends, they're afraid of it. And so I'll call my guy friends and I'll be like, oh, my girl's like, how do you feel? And my guy friends, like, I'll be like I'm so used to talking in that, so used to communicating in this like feminine way. I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's been a crazy day. I'm totally here, and here. And they're like, oh cool, can I come over and fix it? Can there's a hole in your wall, I'll fix it. Which is actually kind of awesome because like me and my girlfriends, we'll talk all day. We'll like wax poetic. We'll like figure out the words to assign to everything, but there's no movement. And so like how cool is it? You just be like, oh, you're not feeling good? I'll come over and give you a back massage.
Yeah, but that's what we don't want in that moment. We want the to be caught and understood on the same level.
But do you feel like if you said that, would your husband, I mean, you could say in general, your husband in particular, would he respond? If you didn't just throw it at him, but said, I'm falling apart right now and I need you to catch me.
Yeah, he would not understand it. It's where he comes from. I know where it comes from and where he comes from. It wasn't allowed. It wasn't taught. Yeah. It wasn't exercised.
Stop thinking about the solution. Stop thinking about,
Exactly.
Totally.
we're not there. Just be in this moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feel it with me the same
Exactly.
way. Yeah.
Try to feel.
I don't like being called crazy. Like if I'm mad about something and you don't get it, like I'm crazy. So, and I'm like, and it gets me annoyed because crazy means
What's
you're
crazy?
not. Yeah, crazy to me.
Maybe you're crazy because you're oppressed.
Well, yeah, and I always thought crazy meant you're not lucid. You're not in this moment. You're not well. You're sick. There's something wrong with you. Yeah. So if you don't understand me, I'm crazy, and then so it makes me more mad, and then I have a temper, so I yell, and then I appear to be crazy. Yes. But that's not how it started.
A lot of times we're not looking for a solution. We just want you to be here with me. I'm lonely. I'm suffering. Yeah. I even have the answer. I could snap my fingers and get myself out of this in a second. I just need you to be with me, embrace this, validate it.
The fire and the emotions are an effort to want to be closer. And if you just become so rational and so even, you're not really connecting in the profound and deep way that you wish to connect.
I was actually with a guy. I thought he was amazing. And then when we had sex, I realized he was a selfish person because of sex. The way we interact sexually says so much about how we care for each other. And yeah, it was just crazy. I was like, wow, you're such a selfish person by the way you make love to me. You know, you're not thinking about me, you're not reading my body at all. You're clearly only thinking about yourself and what you want and your satisfaction.
I mean, you just actually brought up, I think, something that is actually the key point of this entire thing, because I think that is really true. I think how it is sexually is ultimately the most important thing, and no matter the rest. That would be my take. And what keeps you together?
We're going for the guys that can choose things, that can get things done, that are picking. We're going more towards these masculine traits, but then we want both. And so I think it really does. I'm telling you, it comes back to how we're picking our mates. And we're not giving them space to be sensitive. We're not giving them the vocabulary. When we're saying, like, this is what's wrong with the men, we have to look at how we're
Picking.
I think that the only way to really grow as a person is to be able to fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. Because then
If you can't
will be
fall apart, then you
stronger.
stay the same. And that's what happens to boys and men in general. They are terrified to fall apart.
So like they're taking less risks because they're like, you know, they're not crying. And so they can't take the risk with fashion. They can't take the things because there's no space to fall apart. Just like I'm allowed to have off days with my outfits. Like some days I'll wake up and I'm a royal mess. I'm crying. Things are falling. Glitter is coming out of everywhere. And that's fine. That's because I'm creative and that was nourished. But yeah, with these guys, it wasn't nourished so much.
And I just want to say, if you have children, just let them cry. Boys, particular.
Definitely.
Allow them to fall apart.
The guys now that are going to be having kids, the guys that are a little bit more expressive, the guys that are a little more in tune with things, I'm like so excited for younger people. I do think that men are starting to come into their own, and I think that we have to keep nourishing that. And so yes, let them cry, let them wear high heels. Let's think of like the patterns that we are reinforcing by being attracted and not attracted to those guys, and give people space. We're allowed to explore the gamut of our own possibilities. How can we liberate these gentlemen?